mm, how to make some magic and just grow my money. That's my interest for coming today. So I'm Madhuri Kale, and I'm your host, as I said, for today's session. I'm a career and creativity coach, a storyteller, and in the past, I've started a platform for women who wanted to restart their careers. Um, Today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Soumya. Soumya, I've been, looking forward to today evening. I cannot tell you how. Since morning, I've been deciding how will it be, what questions will come, how can I grow my money, and I'm so happy you're here to help us understand this important life skill that is managing your money. Now, Soumya is an investment advisor. She started her journey in this space with the largest mutual fund houses in 2002. And then she moved on into India's largest wealth management firm in 2008. She's, however, Soumya, if I can say that, a work in progress, a potter, a painter, and she's absolutely crazy about crystals. So, welcome, Soumya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Make me sound really good.
No, you are. I mean, we are really looking forward to hearing a lot from you. And as we were thinking about coming into today's session, it took me back many years. So, long time ago, because I'm a storyteller, that's how the session will start. So, a long time ago, a 20-year-old was left asking her questions about which shares to sell, which ones to demat. And this was the time when there was no demat. Okay, all were physical shares, and
Yeah.
she didn't know what to do. And it was a daunting decision to make. And that 20-year-old was me. And this was right after my father had a fatal accident, a road accident, and he was in coma for 14 days and then many years of recovery. So me and my sister were then left to manage this huge portfolio, and we were just merely introduced to this investments or shares or what to buy. And I'm glad my father had done it, because if that hadn't happened, I would be totally lost. So, but I'm wondering how many of us actually take interest, in knowing where to invest, what to do, and recently I came across some clients who had lost their spouses, and they had no clue about what is happening to their money, where all was it invested, what had happened. So I don't know, we just want magic to happen and the money should, multiply, but we don't want to do any hard work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So
I know.
what is personal finance, Soumya? I'm really very curious. How should we manage it?
Thanks a lot for the lovely introduction. And thank you, Galaxy, for giving me this opportunity to speak like this. This is the first time I'm speaking, to an audience, and I'm actually nervous, even though I've been doing this for 20 years. Um, in these 20 years, it's just luck for me that I actually got into this space of, investing, looking at people's portfolios, spending a lot of time with successful people and how they manage their portfolios. And for the longest time I used to think that, okay, maybe everybody has a hang of this. But when I internalize, I realize that there are a lot of reasons why people don't start looking at their own money the way they need to. I think the biggest reason is fear. We're also scared that we'll do something wrong. We're also scared that we don't know enough. Another big fear is that, oh, but I don't think I have enough money to start. I might as well just put it in something that our previous generation was very comfortable with, which is, maybe I'll just buy a house. But these are a few things that kind of stop you these days. Of course, there's like a complete overload of information. Like when I'm on Instagram, or maybe because I click those handles a lot, it's full of stuff about investments, tips, how to kind of become the next Elon Musk, etc. so a lot of information overload as well. So it's difficult for someone who's already intimidated to figure out where to get that information. And last point, and which is applicable to me as well, you just hope that koi aur kar lega, somebody else will do it for me. Like I know for a fact that I even though I'm in this space for so long, I just hope someone just takes it, and looks at it for me, and I don't have to bother. So a lot of reasons why people don't look at their money, or not proactively kind of um, actually learn about it like a life-saving skill. Like we spend time learning classical dance. We spend so much time learning, a sport or an instrument. I think this also should become like a fun hobby kind of a thing that everybody should do. I was just listening to someone else talking on Instagram Live the other day, and he said, "This is a job. Money managing is a job that God has given you for life. There is no chutti from this," and I truly believe that. But yeah, I also believe that it should be fun and it should be light, and you should find your place where to go, who to seek help from, etc.
Okay. Um, in fact, I have come across some friends, who are absolutely clueless. I mean, there's in that happy space that I don't know what is happening. I earn and then it goes into my bank, and I don't know what happens after that. I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing, but I believe we should take some interest.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have friends make who are making important life decisions, because which may or may not be good for them in the long run, because of the insecurity that they have around money. And I'm sure if that insecurity and fear is plucked away, they'll make such beautiful decisions about their lives.
Correct. Um, Soumya, there's a friend of mine. She, in fact, is a director on a couple of companies, and she signs the checks and everything. And she doesn't know what happens. Where is she signing? What is her liability?
Yeah,
And
that's something that a lot of us face, and that's more like in the legal law space. But yeah, it's so important to know what you're signing. And so many families, where the women are made a partner or they're made a director, and you don't even know the liabilities that you're taking upon yourself. I mean, I have certain I have a few friends who are like that, who are casual about it. But yeah, I think it's something that you must be very clear what you're signing.
correct. So, Soumya, how should our relationship be with our money?
I think it's, it should be easy peasy. And, one thing that I've learned from my experience with successful, well-established, wealthy families in India is that, they don't feel bad about asking for help. If they will keep asking for help about how to manage their money, they will take out every little a teeny bit of information from you, because they feel that there is nothing to be ashamed about, where if when it comes to asking about something that they don't know about, and especially their money. And I feel all of us should kind of be very should be very open to asking for help. I think one way, of course, is some families do have family advisors.
Mm-hmm.
So if your uncles and aunts go to a particular wealth advisor, no harm in going reaching out to them initially. If you don't have that, and what is far more comfortable, especially for younger people, is reach out to your friends, take recommendations of the people from whom they take advice. You don't necessarily need to go by what they do or who they go to, but it's always good to have, like, literally have interviewed people before deciding who you want to engage with when it's about money. I think initially thinking that I can do it all more on my own might be a little tough. It's best to ask for help, and there's a lot of help available these days. You just have to be very clear about how you want to start this and how do you want to take it forward. For those who are kind of who know how to kind of pick up things easily, and they don't like face to face engagement these days, there's a lot of tech stuff happening. So recently, since since I've left this 18-19 year old long career, I've been talking about how I want to help people how to manage their money and all. So my friend came up to me and said, "ठीक है, itna don't be a saint, pehle mera karke dikha." So I kind of said, yeah, okay, fine. And then I suddenly realized, oh, I'm not a part of a big organization anymore. I don't have a team of people who'll execute it for me. So this is a problem that everybody must be facing. So what do I do for him? So I actually kind of scouted through various simple fintech apps that are available. Till now, and this is just a 2-month-old research, you all can do your own research. I think Zerodha is a fantastic platform. And just for as a disclaimer, this is not a paid for conversation at all. This is just my personal experience. So just wanted to make that clear. Zerodha is something that you can go on to. Fisdom is a very good app if you just want to start with mutual funds. Indwealth and Grow are also fast and easy online apps that you can use. So for those who want to see what they're executing, who want to be in control and want to see it every day, these fintech apps are awesome. I also recommend that while you're getting on this journey, I know for myself, and my phone tells me every weekend how much screen time I've how much time I've spent on my phone. And I feel that agar itna Instagram pe we are spending time, then it might be useful for you to find some interesting blogs, YouTube channels, and podcasts which talk about personal finance. Just as a habit, use the screen time in a better way. In all this, I understand it still might sound intimidating. Always have somebody who can handhold you, somebody who you can just kind of use as a sounding board to chat with at least once a month. Maybe after a year or two, you might not need it. This is one passion which you can master in a year. Not like classical dance or not like, other sports, which you have to practice for years and years and years. I think this is an easier passion to inculcate.
Wow, that's so encouraging, really encouraging. But I mean, I'm wondering, where do I start? Where do I invest? Do I, for a person like me, I will be drawn towards equity. And then when I go and try and do that, people tell me, no, it's not the equity fund time. It's debt that you should be investing in. What do I do? I'm so lost.
So, again, here the fear factor and overload. People love to give advice, but people always, so that's the best part about, at a dinner party conversation when they said, oh, we invested in cryptocurrency and we've made so much of money, but nobody tells you that just 6 months back, that same investment must have fallen by 50% in one day. So one is you have to be very careful what you're hearing and what you're letting go. The other that I mean, my personal experience is this fear factor is so huge. Like I remember in 2002, when I started this journey, my father said, I have some money, isko invest kar do. He felt very proud. My daughter is in this investment line. Now she'll handle it really well. And I said, oh, no, markets are really high. And you know what? Sensex was at 5,000 levels at that time. And today it's at 45,000 levels. And it's just, in all these years. So there are times when he looks at me, when I'm giving advice to other people, he looks at me and says, "Acha, तुम दूसरों को advice दे रही हो? मैंने 2002 में बोला था मेरा invest कर दो, and you thought markets were high." So yeah, I think it's very important to know what you want out of your investments. What is your attitude towards the ups and downs of investments? Because investments, it's not something that you can just leave by and just be completely hands off. It's good to keep looking at it every now and then. But where to invest, it all depends on who you are. If you're a youngster, I mean, these days on internet, I see this formula which is doing rounds is 50, 30, 20, which means 50% if you're a youngster. young
15,
matlab
30,
30 ke
20.
niche. Have a 50% will probably be your expenses. 20% should be your savings, savings which can help you through a time like COVID where you might have lost your job. And the remaining 30% you should consciously invest from a point of view of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. If you're young, this is a basic formula. But if you're older and you've kind of accumulated some money already, it completely depends on your temperament. For me, like you, equity is the best. But these days, even executing gold on the exchange is very simple. Exchanging international investments is very easy these days. Even to invest in something like a real estate pre-leased kind of units on the exchange, they're called REITs. Those things also you can so easily execute. So lot of options and a lot of ease these days across asset classes.
Yeah. I didn't quite understand how you can invest in gold, because traditionally we will go and buy gold and keep it and then, kind of get some other jewelry done or something. So how does this work? Gold
So
ETF.
this has been in existence in India for a while. They are basically called exchange traded gold units.
Okay.
So you can decide, you can actually decide how much you want to buy, at what market level you want to buy, and you go on the exchange. And yeah, you can just execute it, and you own that much of gold in your demat account. Okay. You can't break it and make jewelry out of it, Madhuri, but baki sab fayde hain. Matlab, if gold appreciates, you'll get good returns.
Fantastic. And I heard one more thing which kind of made me spark, which was the real estate one, because otherwise I'm left, managing tenants and managing other unwanted things. So
yeah, I think in India, and this is started since 2018, where there'll be large number of I'll just give you an example. The first REITs was Embassy REITs. If there's anybody from Bangalore here, they'll know Embassy is a big real estate group. So what they did was they took all their commercial assets that they own, not all, say they chose a basket of their pre-leased commercial assets, and they put it in a trust, and they just listed it on the exchange. So if you own a unit of that trust on the exchange, you actually own some part of the basket of that pre-leased commercial property. So they're known as REITs. Slightly complicated. If you're getting into investments the first time, maybe leave that for the last chapter.
Okay. But it's interesting how you say that you need to have a goal, basically, where to invest and why to invest. Right. And if I hear you correctly, also depends on which stage of life you are in. So the goal is defined, and then that's what drives the investment.
Yeah. And also one thing is very important. A lot of us don't start thinking that, I don't have enough money. But the best part is you can actually start investing with just 1,000 rupees a month. In fact, I think it's 500 rupees a month. Yeah. Really? In mutual funds, you can actually start with 500 rupees a month.
Okay. So anybody can invest if everybody is hearing. So it need not be that you have lakhs of rupees that you want to put in. It can be as low as 500. This is music to my ears, and I'm really happy to hear this.
Yeah.
How much is enough to invest?
Like I said, it completely depends on where you're at. What are your savings? And out of that savings, what do you think you can put aside? You can just set aside for 5 years to grow for you, 5, 10, 15 years to grow for you.
Okay. So anybody can invest, can start with 500 and can go upwards. And there are such exciting various forms of investments. Excellent. How much returns can we expect if you are doing?
मैं नहीं बताऊंगी. No. I just you see I don't want to get into that space of kind of talking about returns, because that completely diverts you from the main reason why we are having this conversation. Last year has been a fantastic year. But had you been an investor just when the first wave of COVID hit, you would have not been very happy. This year, you would be very happy. 2008, you would not have been happy. 2014, when BJP won for the first time, you would have been very happy.
Yeah.
So, which is why it's so important to just stay invested right through those cycles.
Yeah.
Like, had I invested my dad's money in 2002, today it would have been a much larger sum. So
Yeah.
that's the key.
Correct. Okay. Are there some things that I need to watch out for, or I need to take care of before getting into investments? And I come from the space where there are some senior citizens. And I know you're from the banking industry, and I have huge respect for the banking industry. But then there are a lot of relationship managers who keep coming to the senior citizens and telling them, you can just, we'll just, uncle, just tell us and I will invest in this, and it will be done. So I am scared to allow such people to talk to parents or in-laws. And I'm wondering, as an investor, what are the things I should take care of and not do?
I think the first thing is that as an investor, you should be very strict about whether it is okay to increase your allocation. Okay, so let me put it this way. Risky investments will give you higher returns. Low risk investments will give you moderate to low returns. So that is reality of life. So no matter how old you are, you just have to be strict about that. You just have to be very, very disciplined and strict about not breaching that law, that rule, which is that I don't want to go into risky stuff. So fine, I'm okay with the much lower return. And therefore, I'm not going to get lured by your fancy products that you're launching and coming to me. So while like advisors come and talk to you, ultimately you also you are, like I said, it has to be it's your baby. You can't really let someone just come and say anything to you. So which is why if it's a person managing your money, trust, faith, and relationship is the most important part. Yeah.
Okay. And now you have given us so many tips about different apps. And are there other things when we are going on these apps and trying to invest? Are there things that we need to take care of?
See, I think while I created this for my friend, you have to be careful about how much you're being charged. Just understand there are no free lunches, especially online. While we feel that Instagram and Facebook and all of them are free, but no, none of these apps are free. So if a Zerodha is saying they're low cost, no, not really. They are not low cost, because I was just investing for this friend of mine and I realized that any transaction I was doing, they were cutting 100 rupees.
Yeah.
100 rupees is really small. But when you start calculating it as a percentage of what you've put in, you start realizing what is the expense. So one has to be very cautious about that. The second thing is, and this is not only for your investments, and this is for everything that you as a family own. It's very important for you to be very careful about things like have a record keeper. Like, in fact, just the other day, me, mom, dad, and my sister, we were discussing that we need to have, like, in one place, one Excel file which captures all our assets. When I say assets, it means house, it means insurance policies, it means investments, whether it's mutual funds, stocks, bank account details, demat account details. Everything should be available in just one Excel file, so that family members can access it if something were to happen to one of us. And that's an easy thing, and that's what all successful large families do. And it doesn't matter how much your portfolio is, it just doesn't matter. But it's very important to have that in place. The second thing that's important is, don't be careless with your passwords. And especially if you're going online and doing your investments, be very, very careful. And I'll give you a personal example. And this was like, COVID first wave was happening, and my friend was going to withdraw some cash. So I told him, here's my debit card layout. So he went, he got it, and he came back. Then the next morning, he started singing a number rhythmic in a rhythm. And I was like, oh, sounds like an ad jingle. Wow. And then I said, what are you singing? He said, I'm singing your debit card pin. And he said it to psych me out, and I got completely psyched, and I was like, oh god, what if he goes psycho, and what if he just runs away with all my money, and what will happen?
Yeah.
Then of course after a week he sang the same song, same rhythm, but the number was wrong. So I was like, he's forgotten the pin. But don't do that. You don't want people to have your passwords under any circumstances. The other thing is your nominations. I think all of us feel that nominations dekha jayega, doesn't matter, but it's very important to have a nomination. Otherwise your assets can just get stuck. Your bank account can just get stuck. Nobody can touch that money. And it's a task to kind of resolve all of that, because I've been in a bank. I know how, grieving family members are wanting to access the money, but they just can't because of the mess that was left behind. So nominations you have to be very careful about. Holding pattern, I feel that you should always have a joint holding. Your assets should be held jointly. Okay. And should be operated, either or survivor. I think that's a good way to handle it. The other thing that you need to work on is will. I mean, although it's going into the legal space completely, and maybe later Galaxy can have a lawyer speak to all of you, but very important to have a will. And the best part about a will is that it's just, you can just write a will on a piece of paper. A lot of us feel that it has to be registered, etc., or it has to be on a stamp paper, or you have to have like government officials as witnesses. Nothing like that. It can just be a simple piece of paper where you just state simple things. But it's important that the nomination and the will are matching. Otherwise, again, assets can just get stuck. Mm-hmm. So I was just reading a very big, finance guy. He wrote in Business Standard the other day that his father passed away because of COVID. And of course, he was 82 years old. His name is Harsh Rungta, in case anybody wants to read up his articles. He writes good stuff. He said that my father died. The nomination is in the house property is different, and the will is different. So now we have to get into a scenario of a probate, which is like basically the court comes in, and you don't want to get there.
Yeah, true. And like this case of my one of my clients whose husband suddenly passed away, and young person, again, nothing is written, and she has absolutely nothing, and she doesn't know where to start, right? She doesn't have a job. So which makes me wonder what happens to those women, okay, who have given up their jobs, given up a working life, and are now dependent either on the husband or the father or the brother. How do they make themselves financially secure?
I think awareness levels. So I have been involved in with families where I've managed their money, where they in some cases they encourage the women of the family to sit in those meetings and learn. And I have seen that wherever the woman has taken proactive interest in learning and then coming to those meetings, it's been very good for them and very empowering for them, because they're able to participate in discussions, they're able to ask right questions. But if you're not interested, you can't expect, the father and the brother and the husband to sit and teach you everything. So I think take it upon yourself, like you would learn, I was telling you, like you would learn an instrument, or like you would learn a sport. Take it upon yourself to learn about this. And the money doesn't have to be yours, but if you're one of the beneficiaries in some way or the other, then you should be aware of, how best to manage it, and maybe contribute in that way. You don't have to earn money. You can contribute in terms of knowledge.
Yeah. And like you said, even 500 rupees is enough, right? We would spend 500. You would not think twice to spend that money for a parlor visit, but we would think twice to invest that 500 rupees.
हाँ,
So
yeah.
what if
नहीं, but parlor तो बहुत important है. That I think I would give it. Yeah. But yeah, any other example of 500 rupees would work.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just, just thinking, so sometimes maybe women don't feel the worth, that they are so scared to put in that money somewhere. What if it goes wrong and it is not my money? That factor, that it is my husband's money, or that's something which, like you said, being aware and starting off slowly, even with a small little amount, maybe that
Yeah.
would change.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. This, like, she's my client's daughter-in-law, but now has become a very good friend of mine. So she said that my father wants to invest, and he lives in the plantation. So I will manage it from here in Bombay. So she started managing, and of course during that time, 2017, 18, 19 markets were volatile, and the father couldn't kind of stomach all of it. So she and her father had a fallout matlab little bit of nok joke ki tumne kya kiya mere paise ka. Fine, that happened, but just that experience of managing a part of her father's money has taught her so much that now she sits in with her father-in-law and looks at the entire portfolio. And now the father-in-law is actually planning to kind of handhold the portfolio to her so that she can manage it for the entire family.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Yeah.
This is empowering. I mean, those who are of us who are scared of starting, because this girl took so much interest and went ahead. Even, of course, you will fall in the first few times, but overcoming that and still going ahead. I think this is really encouraging for those who are thinking twice.
Yeah. Learn from your mistake and learn from other people's mistake. That's even better.
Yeah. Soumya, thank you so much. It's been for me, it's been very like an eye opener, I would say. Like some of the things I didn't even know. I would still go back and think, do I need to buy gold? Do I need to do certain things? And I was raised in a very traditional type of investment. Like I said, no demat, nothing. So I went through the hard way of learning. But just knowing about these apps, it's been...
Yeah. It's a good way to start.
Yeah, I'm excited to begin again.
Yeah.
We're going to open the floor for some questions. If you have any questions and you want to open the mic and ask, it's good. Otherwise, you can type it and I will read it out for you. So there is one already. That's isn't bank savings account still a safe investment?
Is the
savings FDs, fixed deposit or bank savings account. So it remains in the bank and it's safe. Is that the safe investment?
Safe matlab like it just feels very good to just let your money sit over there and you can just go like, oh, nice, so nice. But it doesn't work because 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 things are becoming more and more expensive. Mm-hmm. So if your savings account is only giving you a 3%, but if the prices of everything that you're consuming on a daily basis is going up by 9-10%, then you are then the worth that 100 rupees is not doing the job it was doing earlier. So you really have to catch up. It's a catch up game with inflation. Yeah. You can't be happy with the 2% because you have to be more proactive. But yeah, it depends on your goal. It depends on your life cycle, where you're at. It depends on how important safety is, how many years you have ahead of you. All of that.
Yeah. I'm going to quote you on this, catch up game with inflation, and I'm going to send that to my mom, who keeps thinking that it should be okay to keep it in the savings account. Uh, anyway, next question is safest is ETFs, Nifty 50. Where to buy it from?
Sorry?
Anupam Singh Sankhi is asking a question. Safest is ETF, Nifty 50. Where to buy it from?
It
Anupam,
is
if you
safe.
want
No,
to
it's
open.
not safe. I mean, it's as safe as equity or as, I mean, it's an equity. You're basically investing in the Nifty, which is the one of the primary indices of the
Just best
country.
50 companies, no, in India. So
So
if
yeah,
you invest in
you
the
can.
best,
It's very easy actually. In fact, Anupam, if I'm not mistaken, you're based out of Singapore, right?
no, I'm in Delhi.
Oh, you're in Delhi. Oh, okay, sorry. You just, I mean, it's so easy to execute the trade. If you have your own trader or broker, just call him up and he'll buy those units for you and just park it in your Demat account. Or if you're on these fintech apps, they're the first thing that pops up. They're called Nifty Bees. Just, buy whatever amount you want.
No,
whether-
I just downloaded and registered myself with Zero Dha because I was told that they don't have this hidden charges which other brokers have. But you are just now saying that it's nothing like that. So they also, how do you get rid of this, the hiddenness? There's no transparency. In Singapore, there is transparency, I believe. But in India, there's no transparency.
No, actually, it's it's not like they're hiding. It's just that we kind of get enamored by low brokerage, low cost. They're not saying no cost; they say low cost. And so imagine someone like me who's been in this space for so long also fell for low cost, and in my head I imagined it as no cost. And then when I started seeing that for every execution they were deducting that 100 rupees, I first got really angry. And then I said, yeah, what was I thinking? That they will do everything free for me or what? So it's not really hidden. And actually I went back and I saw that they very clearly say it. It's just that it doesn't catch your eye.
Okay. So there's nothing hidden because when I invested through a private broker, one of those popular ones, Mafatlal types. I don't remember the name also. I'm so bad.
Tilal.
But but they said no. Look at the purchase value we are showing you. This is at the purchase value that we bought your stuff, and then this is the what you have made with the gains. So they don't show any cost in their charts. They don't show it. There's zero cost that they're showing. Then Zero Dha also says that we don't charge you for anything. Now, if I have to go and read, where do I go and read? Like, somebody who's facilitating it, they're saying that, okay, I'm glad to pay cost, but at least I should know where to find it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying completely. I understand that part.
So, from your research, why should I do extra? Which is the best?
Which is the
best platform to now just be on it. I keep jumping from one place to the other, from one broker to the other. What's the point?
So if you need advice along with every buy and sell, then you must be with one of these conventional Motilals or Kotaks. But
Motilal, I'm good.
But if you're somebody who wants to start picking up stuff on your own and you don't want any intervention of a human being talking to you, then you can easily kind of be on the Zero Dha app. It's good.
Yeah, because if I just want to invest in Nifty 50, then I don't need any advice.
Yeah, true. You're so true.
Okay, thank you, Anupam. We have another question from Sumi. For a complete beginner, what's the good blog or website to start? I think you had mentioned, and maybe we can copy paste them in the chat for you.
Yeah, I'll put them together and I'll send them across. I just have a few that I follow. I'll definitely send it across to her.
Okay, so now there is also one more question, which is, can you please suggest 5 steps for a beginner?
5 steps to
Yes.
become a good investor. Just in
Yes.
5 steps.
Just to get confidence. Once we get confidence, then we will invest more.
I feel if you're an absolute beginner, find somebody who you can find that do a lot of put effort in finding that one person who can handhold you for the first 1 year.
Okay.
There are I would say that's the best way.
Yeah, so that you're a trusted person who can
Yeah.
guide you, so that we don't have to ask questions. Excellent. And one more question for a first-time investor: what is a good investment option in equity?
ऐसे थोड़ी ना मतलब गैलेक्सी पे आके I'll give like magic mantras.
Yeah. We want magic words, and then we'll just use them.
No, please tell me if anybody knows. I also need them.
Okay. There is one more question, which is, do you think the younger generation is more investment savvy?
No, I think they have they have confidence. I think they're very open to taking risks. Like in our time, we didn't even know the names of like I at least when I was young, I didn't know names of US listed companies. But these days, I see kids kind of telling their dads that I need to, I want to invest in Elon Musk. Seedha, not even the name of the companies. I want to invest in Elon Musk. So
Correct.
yeah, I think kids are very aware and they really know that where they want to put their money.
Right. Now, this is a question which is really close to my heart, so I'm going to ask it. What is your advice for people who feel investments is math and math is hard? Because I am not a maths person. So I find it very difficult, to decide what to do. I have to ask 10 times.
Yeah, I know. So actually, even my father also thinks I'm not good in maths, but I've managed this for 18 years. Okay. So I don't think it's about maths at all.
Okay.
It has nothing, because ultimately, if you're investing in a mutual fund, mutual fund is going to invest in Britannia. If in your own house you're having Mary Biscuit, then you know that Britannia has a presence. So where is the maths here?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. During the discussion, you mentioned that there are international funds that we can invest in. So how do we go about that? Are they easily available?
Yeah. So for the newcomers into the space of investment, there are these international feeder funds available in India. Like Motilal has this very good NASDAQ ETF, which you can invest in. You can look at Edelweiss has China funds, which are actually managed by JP Morgan outside of the country. I think Kotak also has a NASDAQ ETF mutual fund. In India, invest in rupees, but finally the money is getting invested outside of the country. Favorites, at least for me and whatever I've learned from my previous organization, US and China are good places to consider for investments. But if you're a very savvy investor and you understand how to remit money out, like how to send money outside, there are ways of doing that as well.
There's one more question that is, whenever a banker throws difficult words like PE, IRR, what do? I feel so lost, and they are so confident saying PE mein kar do, ye karu. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to ask, because if I ask, it will show my negligence about not knowing something. So what do I do?
I think what I said initially, the successful people that I've managed, these are really successful people who've done great in their lives. They don't feel shy asking these questions.
Okay.
So why should we?
Okay, so I should just take the risk also.
I have a client since 2008 till date. At least once in 6 months, he's asked, सौम्या ये मुझे ना समझाओ, ये इंटरेस्ट रेट जब ऊपर जाता है तो प्राइस नीचे आता है, ये वो सीसो वाला जो तुम ड्रॉ करते हो, मुझे समझाओ. I'm telling you, after 10 years, he just asks me the same question. He doesn't feel shy.
Okay. All right. Remember I told you about the senior citizens thing that, we get calls, like my parents or in-laws would get calls that, uncle, shall I increase over here? Should I? So what is the safest investment for those who are senior citizens, like 60 plus?
60 plus is hardly senior anymore, actually.
Okay, 70 plus.
Yeah, 60, at 60, you're at your prime, actually, as far as, investment acumen is concerned. But yeah, if no, the uncle and aunties have to be very disciplined. They have to learn how to say no, and they have to learn, if they don't know what the person is telling them, they need to, uncle needs to call, the son or the daughter or the neighbor.
Okay. But nothing like FDs or anything that they should look at.
I'm sure वो तो करते ही होंगे.
वो तो safest है ना, like LIC, FDs and RBI bonds.
हाँ,
Are the safest. Okay. All right. Any other questions that anybody has? There is one, a small one, which I think you have covered, which is what should we do as we keep in mind what should we keep in mind when we are deciding our saving goals? So I think you had covered that about which stage of life you are in and things like that. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, Soumya, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, what do you think? Do you think it's important to have an appetite for risk taking if you want to grow your money, or is it always about like what's the safest option available? And at what point should you be taking more risk, and at what point should you be safer?
See, I don't. So again, it depends on what is your expectation from your money. So if you want to kind of if your focus is that it has to, I have to see good returns, I have to see double-digit returns, then for that you'll have to take risk. So it depends on in your head what comes first. Is it the returns, or is it the potential loss that you can make? And that itself will tell you where you should be at. But I mean, at your stage, I would say that it's absolutely fine to take risk.
Okay.
Hi.
Thank you.
I have one question, a quick one.
Hi.
Hi. So a senior citizen, let's say, is investing in bonds, RBI bonds, which I know are safe. But what about the private ones, like a Shriram Transport or something? Should they be investing in such bonds?
So so this is becoming specific because it's very important for you to understand the balance sheet of Shriram Transport in order to invest in their bond, because you're literally lending them money. So are they safe they might say that they're going to give you an assured 8% return year on year, which sounds really nice as compared to fixed deposits. But are they safe? I mean, what if something goes wrong with them? Because you as a bondholder don't come in the first few priorities of, if there is a default event, you are not a priority lender. Yeah.
Okay, somewhere there is one more, and then probably we'll take a round and see if there's anybody else has anything else to ask. My investments are in one basket, a share what is
Called
it?
Reliance.
Yeah, a share which is doing reasonably good. So any advice for me?
So see, this is what I've been taught, is that always diversify.
Okay.
But if it's doing well, then you take a call. But I think logic and experience and what learned people say is it must be diversified. Like even today, a Warren Buffett or whether it is a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, I mean, you look at their portfolio, it's highly diversified. They don't really bet on just one company.
Okay. Okay, so diversify and don't keep everything in one basket.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Any other questions that anybody has?
I think Saturday night, 8 o'clock, let's all have some
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
All right,
Uh,
Vishnu.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just add, sort of do a quick summary. Yeah. Okay. So, I was very intrigued by the kind of questions. So I think what the key message that Soumya has for all of us is, this is a skill that can be learned. So, the first thing is to overcome the fear that we have in our mind that we may go wrong, or we may appear, not so smart in front of people. So somewhere we have to find the courage to overcome that hurdle. And once we do that, there are enough resources available, whether it's in terms of understanding these tools on, say, YouTube channels or certain blogs. We will circulate when Soumya sends the blogs that she follows. We will send it out in an email to all of you. So maybe just start by reading, understanding some of the basics, and thankfully, life has become much easier in this day and age to invest. So use some of the tools, or even your banks will give you an option to put money in mutual funds, right? So it's very, very easy. So that's the key message. And yeah, another question was, how much do I need to save, or what profile? So again, there are tools, I think, Soumya, you can support me here, where you can do a risk assessment. So depending on your stage of life and how much you're earning and, life expectancy, there are tools that can help you assess what is your level of risk, and that for that level of risk, what kind of portfolios you can have. So again, make use of all these tools to get a better idea. But please go ahead and start taking interest and take care of your money. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. If you have any further questions, we have Soumya on the Galaxy platform. So just put it out there and she will respond. Right, Soumya?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Madhuri, our storyteller and coach, is also on the platform. So if you want to trade stories with her, please come onto the platform and do that. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.